The grand hall of Nexus Prime Station gleamed with lights from 1,000 worlds. Jiwoo stood in the corner, clutching her datapad and trying to stay invisible. She had been doing that a lot lately. Being invisible came naturally when you were from Earth, the newest and least important member of the Galactic Council. Around her, delegates from powerful civilizations laughed and talked. Their scales shimmered, their tentacles gestured gracefully, their multiple eyes tracked conversations happening across the massive room. Jiwoo was just human, plain, simple, and easy to overlook. She checked her datapad again. Seating arrangements for the wedding reception, that was her job. Not negotiating treaties or discussing trade routes, just making sure Ambassador Hiron sat far enough from the Maltuvian delegation to avoid awkward conversations, but close enough to seem respectful. The wedding was in 3 days. Princess Valinai of the Keltorian Empire would marry Prince Thoros of the Maltuvian sovereignty. Everyone said it was the most important political union in 200 years. 2 massive empires joining forces meant peace, they said. It meant stability. Jiwoo wasn't so sure, but nobody asked junior diplomats for their opinions. She slipped through a side door, escaping the noise and crowds. The station had gardens, beautiful artificial spaces designed to make aliens from 100 different worlds feel at home. Jiwoo found one that resembled Earth parks with green plants and flowering trees. She sat on a bench and breathed deeply, enjoying the quiet. That's when she heard crying. The sound came from deeper in the garden, soft and trying to be hidden. Jiwoo knew she should leave. Whatever was happening wasn't her business, but her feet carried her forward anyway, following a stone path around tall hedges. In a small clearing sat Princess Valinai. Jiwoo froze. The princess was alone, without guards or attendants. That seemed impossible. Royalty never traveled alone. But there she was, sitting on a marble bench, her face in her hands. Her skin was pale blue, common among Keltorians, and her hair fell in silver waves down her back. She wore simple clothes, not the elaborate robes Jiwoo had seen in official pictures. Jiwoo tried to back away quietly, but stepped on a twig. The crack echoed like a gunshot. Valinai's head snapped up. Her eyes were large and violet, beautiful even with tears on her cheeks. For a moment they stared at each other. "I'm so sorry," Jiwoo stammered. "I didn't mean to intrude. I'll leave immediately." "Wait." Valinai's voice was soft but commanded attention. "You're human." "Yes, Your Highness." "I'm with the Earth delegation. I apologize for disturbing you." Valinai studied her with curiosity. "I've never spoken to a human before." "Not directly. You're always kept at a distance during official functions." Jiwoo felt heat rise in her cheeks. That was true. Earth's delegation was always positioned at the edges of important meetings, like decorations nobody really wanted. "We're new to the council," Jiwoo said carefully, "still learning our place." "Your place?" Valinai's laugh was bitter. "Do you know where my place is? Walking down an aisle in 3 days to marry a man I've never met. My place is being a political tool." Jiwoo should have stayed quiet. She should have excused herself and run back to the safety of the human quarters. Instead, she found herself sitting on the bench beside the princess. "You don't want to marry him," Jiwoo said. It wasn't a question. "Want?" Valinai shook her head. "What I want doesn't matter. My father needs this alliance. The council expects it. Prince Thoros brings military strength and trade routes. In exchange, he gets legitimacy and access to Keltorian technology. It's a perfect arrangement, except for you." Valinai looked at her, really looked at her. "Who are you?" "My name is Jiwoo. I'm a junior diplomat. Mostly I organize seating charts and file reports nobody reads." "And you came to this garden to escape," Valinai guessed. "The big gatherings make me uncomfortable. Too many important people." "I understand that feeling more than you know." Valinai wiped her eyes. "Tell me about Earth, Jiwoo. What's it like?" For the next hour they talked. Jiwoo described Earth's oceans and mountains, its cities and cultures. She talked about humanity's excitement at joining the galactic community, their hopes for the future. Valinai listened with genuine interest, asking questions about things Jiwoo had never thought were interesting. "We're not very advanced," Jiwoo admitted. "Our ships are slow. Our technology is primitive compared to the council standards. But we're trying. We're learning." "I've read the reports on humanity," Valinai said. "They say you're survivors. That despite having no natural advantages, you dominated your entire planet. You turned a world that tried to kill you into a home." Jiwoo had never thought of it that way. I suppose we're stubborn. Stubborn. Valenay smiled for the first time. I like that word. The moment broke when footsteps echoed on the stone path. Ambassador Hyeron appeared, her face tight with anger, barely controlled. Jiwoo, there you are. Hyeron's eyes darted to Valenay, and her expression shifted to horror. Your Highness! Please forgive this intrusion. Jiwoo, come with me immediately. Jiwoo stood, her heart sinking. I'm sorry, Princess. I didn't mean to bother you. You didn't bother me, Valenay said quietly. Thank you for the conversation. Hyeron practically dragged Jiwoo back through the gardens. Once they were out of earshot, she hissed, What were you thinking? You can't just talk to royalty. Do you have any idea how that looked? She was alone and upset. I was just being kind. Kind. Hyeron stopped walking. Jiwoo, we're here on sufferance. Earth has nothing these empires want. Our only hope is to not cause problems and pray they throw us some scraps of technology or trade agreements. You don't achieve that by bothering princesses. I understand. It won't happen again. Hyeron's expression softened slightly. I know you mean well. But this wedding is crucial. If we play our cards right, we might get an audience with the Emperor or some minor trade concessions. Don't ruin that. That night, Jiwoo couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Valenay's face, the sadness in those violet eyes. A princess who didn't want to be a princess, trapped by duty and expectations. Unable to rest, Jiwoo pulled up her datapad and started researching. It was an old habit from her academy days. When she couldn't solve a problem, she gathered information until patterns emerged. She read everything available about the Keltorian Empire and the Maltuvian sovereignty. Their histories, their military strengths, their economic systems. She mapped trade routes and military positions. She analyzed what this wedding would mean in practical terms. Hours passed. Dawn light began filtering through her window, and Jiwoo saw something that made her blood run cold. The pattern in the data was clear once you knew how to look. This marriage wouldn't bring peace. It would create a power block so dominant that smaller civilizations would have no choice but to submit. The combined Keltorian-Maltuvian fleet would control most major trade routes. They could dictate terms to everyone, including Earth. But that wasn't the worst part. Jiwoo found records of Prince Thoris's past political marriages. 3 other noble families had allied with him through marriage. All 3 had mysteriously lost power within 2 years. One family's patriarch had died in an accident. Another had been absorbed into Maltuvian territory after political scandal. The third had simply disappeared from galactic politics. This wasn't a marriage. It was a trap, and Princess Valenay was walking right into it. Jiwoo stared at her datapad, hands shaking. She was nobody, a junior diplomat from a primitive world. Who would believe her? Who would even listen? But she kept seeing Valenay's face, kept hearing her voice. What I want doesn't matter. Jiwoo made a decision that would change everything. She would find a way to warn the princess. Even if it cost her career. Even if it ruined Earth's diplomatic standing. Because sometimes being stubborn was exactly what the situation required. Seojin looked at Jiwoo like she had lost her mind. They sat in a small storage room converted into an office, screens displaying the data Jiwoo had compiled through the night. You want to do what? He whispered. I need to warn Princess Valenay, Jiwoo repeated. Look at the pattern. Every family that allied with Prince Thoros ended up destroyed or absorbed. The Keltorians will be next. Seojin was her only real friend in the delegation. He worked as a data analyst, spending his days processing information that more senior diplomats used for their reports. Like Jiwoo, he was young and overlooked. Even if you're right, Seojin said slowly, what can we do? We're nobody. Ambassador Hyeron wants this wedding to succeed. She thinks it's our best chance for trade agreements. Then we go around her. To who? Admiral Woojin. Commander Doyun? They all answered to Heron. Jiwoo rubbed her tired eyes. She hadn't slept. I have to try something. Seojin was quiet for a moment. Then he sighed. Let me help you organize this data better. If you're going to convince anyone, you need a clear presentation. They spent the morning building a comprehensive file. Seojin had access to trading records and communication logs that Jiwoo couldn't reach. Together, they found more evidence. Financial transfers that looked like bribes. Communication patterns suggesting coordination with Keltorian military dissidents. Prince Thoros wasn't just marrying Valenay for an alliance. He was planning a takeover. We should talk to Commander Doyun, Seojin suggested. He's military. He'll understand strategic threats. They found Doyun in the security office. He was a hard man, former Special Forces with scars from the pirate raids that had plagued Earth's early expansion into space. He listened to their presentation without interruption. When they finished, he leaned back in his chair. "This is good work, thorough, but you understand what you're suggesting?" "That Prince Thoros is a threat to galactic stability," Jiwoo said. "That Earth should interfere in politics way above our level." Doyen's expression was serious. "If we're wrong, or if we accuse a prince of a major empire without solid proof, the consequences could be severe. And if we're right and do nothing?" Doyen studied her. "You met the princess, didn't you? This isn't just about politics for you." Jiwoo met his eyes. "Does that matter? The data is real regardless of how I feel." "No, it doesn't matter, but it explains why you're willing to risk so much." He stood. "Come with me. If we're doing this, we need Admiral Wu Jin to see this information." Admiral Wu Jin was the highest-ranking military officer in the human delegation. He was old, with gray hair and a face marked by years of tough decisions. He reviewed their data on a private terminal while Jiwoo, Seojin, and Doyen waited. Finally, he spoke. "You're asking Earth to take a stand against one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy. We're asking Earth to do what's right," Jiwoo said. Wu Jin's laugh was sharp. "Right? Let me tell you about right. 30 years ago, pirates attacked our colony on Mars. We called for help from the Council. Nobody came. We were too new, too unimportant. 3,000 people died while we waited for help that never arrived. Since then, I've learned that in galactic politics, survival matters more than right." The words hit Jiwoo like a physical blow. "So we do nothing." "I didn't say that." Wu Jin turned to face them. "I said survival matters. And this data suggests that if Thoros succeeds, humanity's survival becomes questionable. He'll control the trade routes. He'll have the military power to enforce any terms he wants." "Then you'll support us?" Doyen asked. "I'll take this to Ambassador Hiren. She needs to see it." The meeting with Hiren went as badly as Jiwoo expected. The ambassador looked at the data, then at Jiwoo with barely controlled fury. "You've been investigating the Maltuvian prince? Without authorization?" "I was analyzing publicly available data," Jiwoo said. "Don't play word games with me. You're trying to sabotage this wedding. I'm trying to prevent a disaster." Hiren stood, pacing her office. "Do you understand what Earth's position is? We're barely tolerated by the Council. Our technology is centuries behind. Our military is a joke compared to the great empires. This wedding is a chance to show we can be team players, that we understand galactic politics." "The galactic politics of letting a tyrant gain power?" Jiwoo couldn't keep the heat from her voice. "That's not our decision to make." Admiral Wu Jin cleared his throat. "With respect, Ambassador, it might become our decision whether we want it or not. If this analysis is correct and Thoros consolidates power, Earth will be forced to submit to his terms. We'll lose what little independence we have." Hiren was quiet for a long moment. "Even if we wanted to act, what could we do? We can't just accuse a prince without consequences." "We present the evidence to Emperor Vexthor," Doyen suggested. "The Emperor won't listen to us. We're humans. We've been in the Council for less than 50 years. Why would he believe us over his own advisors who arranged this marriage?" Jiwoo's datapad buzzed. A private message. Her heart jumped when she saw the sender. "Princess Valine." "I may have a way," Jiwoo said slowly, "but it requires trust." Hiren narrowed her eyes. "What way?" "Let me talk to the princess directly." "Absolutely not. You've already overstepped by talking to her once. She's the one at risk. She deserves to know. And if she tells her father that humans are spreading conspiracy theories about her future husband, if she believes we're trying to sabotage her wedding out of spite or ambition..." Jiwoo had no answer for that. Hiren was right to be cautious. But then Admiral Wu Jin surprised everyone. "Let her try." Hiren turned to him. "Admiral, look at this data. Really look at it. I've seen enough military campaigns to recognize a pattern. This is a long-term strategy for conquest. If we're seeing it, others will eventually see it too. Better we warn them now than look complicit later." He paused. "And there's something else. Humanity needs allies. Real allies, not trade partners who tolerate us. If Princess Valinai believes we acted to protect her, that's worth more than a dozen trade agreements." The room was silent. Finally, Hiren nodded slowly. "Fine. But Jiwoo, if this goes wrong, you take full responsibility. Earth will disavow your actions. I understand." That night, using the secure channel Valene had sent her message through, Jiwoo arranged a secret meeting. Commander Doyen helped by creating a distraction in the security rotation. For 15 minutes, the monitoring of certain corridors would experience technical difficulties. Jiwoo made her way through maintenance passages she had memorized over weeks of careful study. The station was huge, but she had always been good at navigation. She found Valene's private chambers. The door opened before she could knock. "You're either very brave or very foolish," Valene said, pulling her inside. "Probably both." The princess's room was smaller than Jiwoo expected, though still luxurious by human standards. Valene gestured to a chair. "Your message said you had something important to tell me." Jiwoo pulled out her datapad. "I've been researching Prince Thoros. I found patterns in his past political marriages that concern me." She showed Valene everything. The data, the financial records, the communication logs, the pattern of families that allied with Thoros and then lost everything. Valene's expression grew darker as she reviewed the information. Her hands trembled slightly. "You're saying my future husband plans to betray my father?" "I'm saying the evidence suggests that possibility. I thought you should know before the wedding." "Why are you doing this?" Valene looked at her with those violet eyes. "Your ambassador wants this wedding. Your people have nothing to gain by helping me. Why risk your career?" Jiwoo thought about lying, about giving a diplomatic answer. Instead, she told the truth. "Because when we talked in the garden, I saw someone trapped. Someone who deserved better than being a tool in someone else's plan. And I couldn't walk away from that." Valene was quiet for a long moment. This information would need to be verified. My father would need more than data analysis from a human junior diplomat. "I know. That's why I'm asking for your help. You have access to systems I can't reach. Together we might find proof that even your father can't ignore. If we're caught investigating my future husband, it would be seen as an insult to the Maltuvian Empire. I know. If we're wrong, we could start the very war this marriage is meant to prevent." "I know." Valene smiled, sad but genuine. "You humans really don't know when to give up, do you? It's one of our few advantages." The princess made her decision. "I'll help you. But we have less than 3 days before the wedding. Whatever we're going to find, we need to find it quickly. Then we'd better get started." As Jiwoo left through the maintenance corridors, her heart was pounding. She had committed now. There was no turning back. Either they would find proof and prevent a catastrophe, or they would fail and face consequences she couldn't imagine. But for the first time since arriving at Nexus Prime, Jiwoo felt like she was doing something that mattered. 2 days until the wedding, Jiwoo barely slept, working through the night with Seojin to analyze every piece of data Valene secretly provided. The princess had access to systems that humans could never reach. She fed them financial records, communication logs, and diplomatic correspondence. The picture that emerged was worse than Jiwoo had imagined. "Look at this," Seojin said, pointing at a screen showing communication patterns. 3 months ago, someone from Thoros' staff contacted military officers in the Keltorian fleet. The conversations were encrypted, but the pattern is clear. They're building a network. Jiwoo studied the data. "Can we decrypt the actual messages?" "Not without better equipment. But we can show the pattern exists. It wasn't enough. Patterns could be explained away. They needed something concrete, something undeniable." Commander Doyun entered their makeshift office with someone Jiwoo didn't recognize. The man was thin, with sharp eyes that seemed to notice everything. "This is Sunwoo," Doyun said. "Intelligence," Jiwoo blinked. "Earth has intelligence operatives?" "We're small, not stupid," Sunwoo said with a slight smile. "Doyun showed me your data. You're onto something real. But you need more than analysis. You need evidence." "We know," Jiwoo said. "That's the problem." Sunwoo sat down studying their screens. "Prince Thoros has a private office in the Maltuvian quarters. If he's planning something, the proof will be there." "We can't just break into a prince's office," Seojin protested. "Why not?" Sunwoo looked at them. "That's exactly what we need to do." The plan was dangerous and probably foolish. But Jiwoo volunteered immediately. She had gotten them into this situation. She wouldn't ask others to take risks she wouldn't take herself. Doyun argued against it. "You're not trained for infiltration." "Then teach me what I need to know." They had one night. Sunwoo and Doyun spent hours showing Jiwoo how to move quietly, how to avoid security sensors, how to download data quickly without leaving traces. It wasn't enough training, not really, but it would have to do. Valenai provided the layout of the Maltuvian quarters and information about guard rotations. She also gave Jiwoo access codes that would work for a limited time. "Be careful," Valenai said through their secure channel. "If they catch you, I can't protect you." "I know, then why are you doing this?" Jiwoo thought about that. "Because someone has to, and I'm already involved. Might as well see it through." The night before the wedding, Jiwoo made her move. She wore dark clothes and carried a small device Sunwoo had given her for downloading files. Her hands shook as she entered the maintenance corridors that would take her to the Maltuvian section. The station at night was different, quieter. Most delegates were sleeping, or at late parties celebrating the coming wedding. Jiwoo moved through shadows, counting her heartbeats, trying to stay calm. She reached the Maltuvian quarters without incident. Using Valenai's codes, she slipped past the first security door. Then the second. Each step took her deeper into territory where she definitely shouldn't be. Prince Thoros' office was exactly where Valenai said it would be. Jiwoo used another code, and the door opened with a soft hiss. The office was large and decorated with military honors from Maltuvian campaigns. Jiwoo ignored the decorations and went straight to the main terminal. She connected her device and started the download. Files began transferring. Military deployments, communication with Keltorian dissidents, financial records showing payments to various officials. Then Jiwoo found the real evidence. A detailed plan written in Thoros' own hand. It outlined exactly how he would take control of the Keltorian Empire. The wedding was just step one. After that came political manipulation, strategic appointments of his supporters, and finally, a military coup timed for 6 months after the marriage. The plan included contingencies for resistance. If Emperor Vexthor proved difficult, there were arrangements for an accident. If the Keltorian military stayed loyal, Thoros had deals with enough commanders to fracture their forces. It was comprehensive, ruthless, and undeniable. Jiwoo's hands shook as she downloaded everything. This was it. This was the proof they needed. That's when the alarm sounded. Red lights flashed throughout the office. Jiwoo grabbed her device and ran for the door, but it sealed shut. She tried Valenai's override codes. Nothing worked. She heard voices approaching. Guards. Running out of time. Jiwoo looked around desperately for another exit. There was a ventilation shaft in the ceiling, but she couldn't reach it. A window showed the void of space outside. No help there, her earpiece crackled. Doyen's voice came through. "Jiwoo, report." "I'm trapped. They've locked down the office." A pause. Then hold on, the voices were getting closer. Jiwoo could hear them arguing about who had breached security. She pressed herself against the wall, knowing it was useless but unable to think of anything else. Then the lights in the corridor outside went dark. The door lock clicked. "Move!" Doyen's voice was sharp. "You have 90 seconds before emergency systems override my access." "Run," Jiwoo ran. She burst from the office into darkness, nearly colliding with confused guards. They shouted, but she was already past them, sprinting through corridors she had memorized. Behind her, emergency lighting came on. The guards realized what was happening and gave chase. 70 seconds. Jiwoo turned a corner, slid through a maintenance door. Her lungs burned. She wasn't trained for this. 50 seconds, more guards ahead. She changed direction, taking a different route. Lost precious time. 30 seconds. The exit was close. Just one more corridor, 20 seconds. She heard footsteps behind her. They were catching up. 10 seconds. Jiwoo dove through the final maintenance door into human territory. The door sealed behind her just as hands reached for her. She collapsed on the floor, gasping for air. Safe. Barely. Doyen appeared, pulling her to her feet. "Did you get it?" Jiwoo held up the device. Everything. Back in their secure room, they reviewed the downloaded files. Admiral Woojin joined them, his face grim as he read through Thoros' plans. "This is damning," he said quietly. "If this gets out, it could mean war." "It should get out," Jiwoo argued. "People need to know what he's planning. And who will they blame when galactic stability collapses?" Ambassador Hyerin had arrived. She looked at the data, then at Jiwoo. "You actually did it. You got proof. What do we do with it?" Seojin asked. That was the question. They had evidence of a conspiracy by a powerful prince against an empire. Presenting it to Emperor Vexthor was the obvious choice, but would he listen? Would he believe humans over his own advisors? Jiwoo received a message from Valenai. My father won't act on this information. I've been trying to reach him all day, but his advisors keep me away. They're too invested in this alliance. We need another approach. Jiwoo thought about the wedding, about all the delegates who would attend. What if the evidence became public? Not just shown to the emperor, but broadcast to everyone? It would be a scandal. It would embarrass the Keltorian Empire. It might even start a war. But it would also be undeniable truth. I have an idea, Jiwoo said slowly. But Ambassador here, and you're not going to like it. She explained her plan. The room was silent when she finished. Finally, Heron spoke. You want to broadcast this information during the wedding ceremony itself? In front of delegates from every major civilization? Yes, that's insane. It will cause chaos. Earth could be blamed for the scandal. Or Earth could be recognized for exposing a threat to galactic peace. Admiral Wu Jin looked thoughtful. It's risky, but if we do nothing and this plan succeeds, we're complicit. And if it comes out later that we knew and stayed silent, the consequences would be worse. Doyen added, we can make it look like the information came from multiple sources, not just Earth. That way the blame spreads. They argued for hours. The risks were enormous, but so were the risks of doing nothing. Finally, as dawn approached on the day of the wedding, they made their decision. They would expose Prince Thoros at the ceremony itself. Jiwoo sent a message to Valinai. Are you ready for this? The reply came quickly. Are you? Jiwoo thought about what they were about to do. How it would change everything. How it might succeed or fail spectacularly. No, she typed, but we're doing it anyway. Good, Valinai responded. That's the most human answer you could have given. The wedding was in 12 hours. They had that long to prepare for the moment that would either save the galaxy from a tyrant or destroy Earth's place in the galactic community. Jiwoo tried to rest, but couldn't. She kept reviewing the plan, looking for flaws, wondering if they had missed something crucial. Seojin found her staring at screens, exhausted but unable to stop. We've done everything we can, he said gently. Now we trust the plan. What if it's not enough? Then at least we tried. That's more than most people would do. He was right. Win or lose, they had tried to do the right thing. Sometimes that was all you could do. The hours crawled by until finally it was time. The ceremony hall was the most beautiful place Jiwoo had ever seen. Crystal columns reached toward a ceiling that showed the stars beyond the station. Flowers from a dozen worlds filled the air with competing scents. Delegates from across the galaxy filled thousands of seats, their various forms creating a tapestry of life's diversity. Jiwoo sat in the human section, far from the center, but with a clear view. Her hands were steady now. The time for doubt had passed. In her pocket was a small device, its single button connected to transmission. Nodes they had hidden throughout the hall over the past few hours. 1. Press would broadcast everything to every delegate's personal console simultaneously. Beside her, Commander Doyen sat rigid, his eyes scanning for threats. Seojin was 3 rows back, pale but determined. Ambassador Hyerin sat with the senior diplomats, her face carefully neutral. Whatever happened, she had agreed to support their decision. Admiral Wu Jin was outside the hall with a security team, ready to act if things went wrong. Captain Ji-hoon had a ship prepared for emergency evacuation if needed. They had planned for every contingency they could imagine. Music began to play, a haunting melody that combined Keltorian and Maltuvian traditions. The guests rose as the wedding party entered. Prince Thoros came first, tall and confident in ceremonial armor. His smile was perfect, his bearing regal. He looked like a hero from legend. No one watching would guess what plans lived behind that charming face. Then came Princess Valinai. She walked slowly down the aisle, her gown flowing like water, her silver hair crowned with flowers. She was beautiful and composed, but Jiwoo could see the tension in her shoulders, the tightness around her eyes. Their eyes met for just a moment across the hall. Valinai gave the tiniest nod. She was ready. The procession reached the altar where High Priestess Kalara waited. She was ancient, from a species that lived for centuries, and her voice carried through the hall without amplification. We gathered to witness the union of 2 noble houses, the joining of Keltoria and Maltuvian in bonds of marriage and alliance. This union represents hope for peace, prosperity for all. Standard words, beautiful words. Lies, Jiwoo thought. if they let this continue. The ceremony proceeded through traditional elements, offerings to various gods, exchanges of symbolic gifts. Thoros played his part perfectly, acting the devoted groom. Feline went through the motions, her face a mask of royal dignity. Then came the vows. Once these were spoken, the marriage would be binding under galactic law. Breaking it would require years of legal proceedings and would be seen as a breach of honor. High Priestess Kalara raised her hands. Prince Thoros of Maltuvian, do you swear to honor this bond? To protect House Keltoria as your own? To serve the greater good of both empires? I swear it, Thoros said, his voice strong and clear. Princess Valinai of Keltoria, do you swear to honor this bond? To bring the strength of your house to Maltuvian? To serve the greater good of both empires? This was the moment. Once Valinai spoke the words, it would be done. Jiwoo pressed the button. Nothing seemed to happen at first. Then all around the hall, personal consoles lit up simultaneously. Delegates glanced down, curious, then their expressions changed. Confusion, shock, horror. The data was flooding their screens. Thoros's plans, the communications with Keltorian traders, the detailed strategy for taking over the empire, financial records proving bribes and conspiracies. Everything they had found presented clearly and undeniably. The hall erupted in noise. Delegates began shouting, showing their screens to neighbors. The ceremony stopped as chaos spread. Prince Thoros realized something was wrong. He looked around, seeing the spreading disorder. Then his eyes found Jiwoo in the human section, and understanding flashed across his face. You, he snarled, pointing at her. Human, seize her. Maltuvian guards moved forward, but Keltorian soldiers blocked their path. General Thaxivor, commander of the Emperor's personal guard, had been reading the data on his own console. His face was carved from stone as he stepped between the Maltuvians and Jiwoo. No one moves, Thaxivor commanded. Not until we understand what this information means. Emperor Vexthor rose from his throne. His presence silenced the hall. He was massive even for a Keltorian, and his anger filled the space like a physical force. Someone explained this immediately. Jiwoo stood. Her legs shook, but her voice was steady. Your Majesty, I am Jiwoo of Earth. The information on your consoles comes from Prince Thoros's private files. It shows his plans to betray your empire and seize control through political manipulation and, if necessary, violence. Lies, Thoros shouted. Human lies meant to sabotage this union. They're jealous of our power, afraid of what this alliance means. Then explain the communications with Keltorian military officers, Thaxivor said coldly. Explain the financial transfers. Explain your documented plans for a coup, fabrications. Anyone can fake data. Not this data, Seojin called out, standing. We've included authentication codes, timestamps, and network trails. Every piece can be verified independently. Emperor Vexthor looked at his daughter. Valinai, did you know about this? Yes, father. Valinai removed her wedding veil. I helped gather this information. The human diplomat came to me with concerns, and together we investigated. What you see is real. You conspired with humans against your future husband? I sought the truth about a man I was expected to marry. Is that conspiracy or is it wisdom? The Emperor was silent. Around the hall, delegates were verifying the data. The evidence was too detailed, too comprehensive to be false, but Thoros wasn't finished. Cornered and desperate, he made a fatal error. His hand moved to a concealed weapon. Energy weapons were forbidden at the ceremony, but he had smuggled one in anyway. He raised it not toward the Emperor or the guards, but toward Valinai. If I can't have this alliance, no one will. Everything happened in heartbeats. General Thaxivor reached for his own weapon, but was too far away. Commander Doyen jumped from his seat, pushing through the crowd, but the distance was too great. The weapon charged. Its hum filling the hall. Jiwoo didn't think. Her body moved before her mind caught up. She ran, faster than she had ever run, driven by pure instinct. The weapon fired. Jiwoo collided with Valinai, knocking her aside. The energy blast meant for the princess hit Jiwoo instead, and pain exploded through her chest. She fell, the world spinning. The hall erupted into violence. Keltorian guards overwhelmed Thoros, disarming him and forcing him to his knees. Maltuvian delegates tried to reach him but were blocked, but Jiwoo saw none of it. Her vision was fading, her body numb. Then Valinai was there, cradling her head. The princess's hands glowed with emergency medical nanites from her wedding jewelry, meant for blessing ceremonies but now used desperately to stop Jiwoo from dying. "Stay with me," Valinai commanded, tears streaming down her face. "You don't die for me. Don't you dare die for me." Jiwoo tried to speak but couldn't. The world was going dark. Human medics arrived, led by Doyen. They worked frantically, their technology primitive compared to the rest of the galaxy, but driven by desperate determination. Admiral Wu Jin appeared, confronting Maltuvian delegates who were trying to leave. No one leaves until this is resolved. Behind him, the small human security force stood ready. They were outnumbered by 50 to 1, but their stance was clear. They would not move. For a moment, it seemed the hall would explode into battle. Maltuvian guards faced Keltorian soldiers. Delegates reached for weapons. The fragile peace of the council balanced on a knife's edge. Then Emperor Vexthor's voice cut through the tension like thunder. "Enough!" The single word stopped everyone. The Emperor descended from his throne, his presence dominating the hall. "Prince Thoros, you are charged with conspiracy against the Keltorian Empire, attempted regicide, and violation of sacred ceremony. You will be held for trial. You have no authority over me." Thoros struggled against the guards holding him. "I have the authority of evidence and witnesses from a dozen civilizations." The Emperor looked around the hall. "Let it be known that any who stand with this traitor will be counted as enemies of Keltoria." No one moved to help Thoros. Even his own delegates stepped back, not wanting to be associated with his actions. The Emperor then turned to where human medics were still working on Jiwoo. He approached slowly, and Valinai looked up at him with defiant tears. "This human saved my daughter's life," Vexthor said, his voice carrying to every corner. "She exposed a conspiracy that threatened our empire. She asked for nothing in return. She acted with honor when others, including myself, were blind." He looked at Admiral Wu Jin. "Earth has proven itself today, not with military might or advanced technology, but with courage and integrity. That is worth more than all the weapons in the galaxy." Jiwoo's eyes fluttered open. The pain was distant now, managed by drugs and nanites. She saw Valinai's face above her, relief flooding those violet eyes. "You're okay," Valinai whispered. "You're going to be okay. Did it work?" Jiwoo managed to whisper. "Yes, you wonderful, foolish human. It worked." As medical teams stabilized Jiwoo for transport to proper facilities, the political situation resolved itself. Thoros was taken into custody. The Maltuvian delegation issued formal apologies and distanced themselves from his actions. And humanity, the newcomers everyone had dismissed, suddenly found themselves at the center of galactic attention. But Jiwoo barely noticed. She drifted in and out of consciousness as they moved her, aware only 3 weeks passed before Jiwoo woke properly. The energy blast had nearly killed her, and recovery required both human medicine and Keltorian technology working together. When her eyes finally opened and stayed open, the first thing she saw was Valinai. The princess sat beside her bed, reading something on a datapad. She looked tired, with shadows under her eyes, but when she noticed Jiwoo was awake, her face transformed with relief. "You're back," Valinai said softly. "Finally. How long?" Jiwoo's voice was rough from disuse. 3 weeks. You've been unconscious while your body healed." Valinai set down her datapad. "I've been visiting every day. I hope that's not presumptuous. Every day? I wasn't going to let you wake up alone in a strange room." Valinai smiled. "Besides, I owed you. You saved my life." Jiwoo tried to remember exactly what had happened. The wedding. The data broadcast. Thoros with a weapon. Then pain and darkness. Did it work? Is Thoros in custody and awaiting trial? The evidence you gathered was overwhelming. He's confessed to most of it, hoping for leniency. Valinai's expression hardened. He won't get it. My father is thorough when it comes to traitors. Over the next few days, as Jiwoo regained strength, Valinai filled her in on everything that had happened. The story had spread across the galaxy. Earth's role in exposing the conspiracy was now known everywhere. "You're famous," Valinai said with amusement. "The human who stopped a galactic catastrophe. There are songs being written about you on 3 different worlds." "Songs?" Jiwoo felt her face heat. "That's embarrassing. That's politics. You're a symbol now." But there was more. The consequences of their actions had rippled through the Galactic Council. Earth's status had changed overnight. Admiral Wu Jin visited, bringing news. The Council has granted Earth full voting privileges, he told Jiwoo. We're no longer probationary members. We have a voice now. Because of what we did? Because you showed we can be trusted to act with integrity even when it's difficult. Woo Jin's usually stern face softened. You made Earth matter, Jiwoo. Not through military strength or technology, but through character. Commander Doyen came too, now officially appointed to train Council security forces in human tactical methods. Turns out everyone wants to learn from us now, he said with dry humor. Who would have thought? Seojin brought work for when she felt strong enough, though he mostly just visited as a friend. They promoted me, he told her. Senior analyst. Can you believe it? They actually listen when I talk now. Even Ambassador Hiren visited, her manner softer than Jiwoo had ever seen. I owe you an apology, Hiren said. I was so focused on keeping Earth safe that I forgot what makes us worth saving. You reminded me. I just did what seemed right, Jiwoo said. That's harder than you think. Most of us compromise, make excuses, tell ourselves that one person can't make a difference. Hiren paused. You proved that wrong. But the most significant news came from Valinai herself, delivered one evening when they were alone. My father wants to offer Earth a formal alliance, Valinai said. Not a minor trade agreement, but true partnership. Technology sharing, mutual defense, open borders. Jiwoo's eyes widened. That's huge. It's recognition that Earth deserves respect. Valinai hesitated, then continued. There's more. I've been granted permission to establish the first Keltorian embassy on your world. I've volunteered to serve as ambassador. The words hung in the air between them. Jiwoo's heart did something complicated in her chest. You want to come to Earth? If you'll have me. Valinai looked vulnerable, more so than Jiwoo had ever seen her. I've spent my life doing what was expected, following rules, fulfilling duties assigned by others. For once, I want to choose my own path. And you choose Earth? I choose to learn more about the species that produces people like you. Valinai's smile was gentle. Someone who risks everything for a stranger. Someone who sees injustice and refuses to accept it. I want to understand what makes humans so persistently extraordinary. Jiwoo didn't know what to say. The princess of a galactic empire wanted to come to Earth, wanted to be near her specifically. I'm not that special, Jiwoo finally said. I just got lucky. Luck is what the unimaginative call courage. Valinai reached out and took Jiwoo's hand, her blue skin warm against human flesh. You changed my life. You showed me that duty doesn't have to mean sacrifice, that sometimes the right thing to do is exactly what everyone says is impossible. 2 weeks later, Jiwoo was cleared for travel. The human delegation prepared to return home, but now they traveled with honor. Other delegations sought them out for meetings. Trade agreements were offered. Military partnerships discussed. Earth, the planet everyone had dismissed as primitive, suddenly had options. On the transport ship carrying them home, Jiwoo stood at the observation window watching stars stream past. Valinai joined her along with a small Keltorian diplomatic team that would establish the new embassy. Nervous? Jiwoo asked. Terrified, Valinai admitted. I've read everything I could about Earth, but reading isn't the same as experiencing. What if I make mistakes? What if I can't adapt? You'll adapt. Humans aren't that complicated. Jiwoo paused. Actually, we're very complicated. But we're patient with people who are trying. I hope so. As Earth grew larger in the viewport, blue and beautiful against the black of space, both women felt the weight of what they had accomplished and what lay ahead. Seojin joined them, carrying drinks. Toast, he said. To unlikely friendships and even more unlikely victories. They raised their glasses. Through the window, Earth filled the view. Tell me about your world, Valinai said. Not the official briefings. Tell me what it's really like. Jiwoo thought about where to begin. It's messy. We argue about everything. We make mistakes constantly, but we keep trying to do better. That sounds exhausting. It is, but it's also hopeful. Every mistake is a chance to learn, to improve. And you never give up, Valinai said, remembering their earlier conversations. We don't know how. Jiwoo smiled. It's our greatest strength and our biggest flaw. The ship entered Earth's atmosphere. Cities glittered below. Humanity's creations spreading across the planet's surface. It wasn't as advanced as Keltorian cities, not as grand as Maltuvian architecture, but it was home, and it was beautiful in its own way. Commander Doyen joined them at the window. Landing in 30 minutes. Prepare for ceremonies. Apparently everyone wants to meet the hero. I'm not a hero, Jiwoo protested. I'm just a junior diplomat who got lucky. That's not what the galaxy thinks. And more importantly, that's not what Earth thinks. Doyen's expression was serious. What you did matters, Jiwoo. You proved that humans belong among the stars. Not because we're the strongest or the smartest, but because we have the courage to stand up when it matters. I wasn't alone. You all helped. That's the other thing you proved. Humans work together. We support each other. That's rare in the galaxy. The ship landed at the main spaceport. Through the windows, Jiwoo could see crowds gathered, banners waving, media drones hovering for coverage. Are you ready for this? Valenai asked her. Jiwoo took a deep breath. No, but that's never stopped me before. They walked down the ramp together. The crowd erupted in cheers. Cameras flashed. Officials waited to greet them. But Jiwoo barely noticed the chaos. She was looking at Earth's sky, at clouds drifting overhead, at the sun warming her face. She was home and the galaxy had changed. Days passed. Valenai settled into her role as ambassador, though she spent most of her time with Jiwoo, learning about human culture firsthand. They walked through cities, visited museums, ate at small restaurants where no one recognized them. Your people are loud, Valenai observed one evening. Is that bad? No, just different. Keltorians value silence and contemplation. Humans seem to value expression and connection. Different strengths for different species, Jiwoo said. Perhaps there's something to learn from both approaches. One night, sitting on a rooftop watching the city lights, Valenai asked the question that had been building between them. What happens now? Between us, I mean. Jiwoo had been wondering the same thing. They had been through something extraordinary together. They had saved each other in different ways. But what did that mean for the future? I don't know, Jiwoo admitted. This is new territory. A human and a Keltorian princess becoming friends. The galaxy will watch everything we do. I'm not asking what the galaxy expects, Valenai said softly. I'm asking what you want. Jiwoo looked at her, at this person who had trusted her when no one else would, who had risked everything based on a junior diplomat's analysis. I want to keep learning about you. Keep understanding your world while you learn about mine. That sounds like a beginning, Valenai said. It is, just a beginning. In the distance, a shuttle lifted off, heading for orbit and the stars beyond. Earth was no longer isolated, no longer the newcomer everyone dismissed. They had earned their place among the galactic community, and it had started with one person refusing to accept injustice. One person who saw someone trapped and decided to help, regardless of the cost. Jiwoo thought about the junior diplomat she had been weeks ago, organizing seating charts and feeling invisible. That person seemed like a stranger now. What are you thinking? Valenai asked. That I never expected any of this. I thought,